Folks, welcome back to the show where it's not about last week's review. It's not about next week's trailer. In this episode, it's about this week's movie, F1, the movie. It's in theaters. It's off to the races, and reviews seem to be pretty positive about it. Let's see how our panel will feel. Let's get them in here. We got your friend, my friend, our friend, Jake Micah from Dry Gin Martina. She's sticking around with us, folks. She is. She's not done with us yet. Paige Bulera, and of course, we got your friend, my friend, all of our friends, Mo Micah in the house. Panel, first off, before we get into F1 off to the races, how are we feeling on this delightful July 1st, 2025? Probably the biggest movie month in the last year, 2 years plus?
Since Barbenheimer.
Oh, but that's true. I forgot about the earthquake that was Barbenheimer for sure.
But that was just one weekend compared to this big month. It was great. It was a great theater experience to kick it off. It's not oppressively hot today here, so we're going. We're chilling, literally.
I like that. So let's get into it. Oh, sorry. We'll
yeah, I thought we were going around the horn. My bad.
I know. Yo, Paige is all business, Micah. Okay, that's what Dry Gin Martini is about. It's about entertainment, culture, and that much more. And that's what this movie's bringing to it. Obviously, F1 has taken obviously in America, like we're just bigger fans of F1 now than we were 10, 20 years ago. And that's why we have a movie now with Brad Pitt. We got the popularity of F1 paying off. So with that said, getting into the movie, Brad Pitt, we got F1 directed by Joseph Kosinski, who also directed Top Gun Maverick, which is something I'm going to probably repeat 26 times during this one because it's a key factor in the fact that we have, these dudes revving engines, and they did so pretty successfully. But Micah, you said you obviously had a great theater experience. Why don't you kick it off and we go around the horn? How did you guys feel walking out of F1? Spoiler free. No specific details, but how'd you feel walking out of the theater after F1?
It was a blast. I had so much fun in that movie. I went with one of my friends, and we were literally just like, there's only so many movies that I could say literally on the edge of my seat during, but at various points in this movie, literally on the edge of my seat. It was just so much. It was so much fun. Like I just didn't. I thought it was going to be a good movie. I anticipated having a good time, but I didn't anticipate what they pulled off with this movie. So it was great, and theater experience was top tier. Like you have to see this. If you want to see this movie, I feel like you have to see it in theaters for the full impact. I don't even know what it would be like watching it on a TV compared to the theater. So I had a great time. How about you, Paige?
Well, the first time I went, the fire alarm went off, so I had to evacuate the theater, which was just absolutely horrible news because I was so excited to see it. But I went again today, saw it in its entirety, and I left the theater feeling pretty good. We'll get into all of those things. I didn't go in with too many expectations because I myself am an F1 fan, and I was like, I don't want to have so much faith that it's going to be like really great about the sport itself, and then I'm disappointed. So I went in with low to no expectations, and I was pleasantly surprised. And similarly, you definitely have to see this in a theater. Do not watch it on your laptop screen or your iPad. Go to the movies. I think this will be the next big airplane movie like Crazy Rich Asians and Top Gun Maverick. Like, I feel like this is going to get it on adult to one flight for sure. Yeah.
I could see that.
My first thought when I walked out was that I wanted to go see it again right away because I just had so much fun with it. I got to go see it in IMAX last Thursday, and that, I mean, like, you had, like, agree with you guys, have to see it in a theater no matter what. If you can, go see it in IMAX because I mean, it's just the incredible experience seeing those races on the big screen like that spread out and the sound you get from it. I mean, that was second to none. My best IMAX. I mean, I saw Oppenheimer in IMAX, and I liked seeing F1 in IMAX way more. It was a better experience to me. But no, I wanted to see it right again. It was fantastic.
My opinion walking out, now you got to remember, I do have undiagnosed ADHD. I was like, that was a little long, 2 hours and 30 minutes. I mean, listen, I love Brad Pitt. I respect Brad Pitt. We probably could have cut out 20 minutes, but I think that when it came down to it, you just had to include a certain amount of Brad Pitt to probably get him to be in this movie. And you also had to accomplish other things, which is why it ended up being 2:30. Now, with that said, you also had my boy JB, Javier Bardem, who could take anything and add like a little zest and a little flavor. So obviously he flourished. But yeah, I think the one thing that you guys have all said, this is absolutely a theater movie. Do not fire this up for the first time it wouldn't do it justice on your laptop or even on your if you have a dope sound system, like maybe if you have like a sound system that costs over $2,500 altogether, surround sound, then yes, maybe you can. But it seems to be that yes, it has to be a theater movie, and like my man Mo said, it also is the apex of film when you can see it in IMAX. Speaking of apex, we obviously have Apex Racing looking to get off the schneid, so they're going back after Brad Pitt. This is where we get tied back to our Kaczynski tie-in with Top Gun Maverick. We got the old bull kind of coming in to help the new steeds. So we don't have an antagonist-protagonist situation, which we so often do in films. We have a classic dual antagonist or protagonist situation where you're actually on the same team, but there's a little competitive edge. So we see that obviously matching up with Brad Pitt in the form of Joshua Pierce, Sonny Hayes versus Joshua Pierce in the movie, Brad Pitt versus Damson Idris, obviously off in the IMDb pages. What did you think of these performances, Micah? Brad Pitt, obviously, this was a little reminder. Brad Pitt every so often comes back to remind us, I'm still around and I'm still looking good as hell.
There was just a lot of just leaving Brad Pitt shots walking. A lot of walking from Brad Pitt in this movie, a lot of running. He's a lot of action shots with Brad. But I mean, this one thing about you just mentioned it about the two protagonists here, or antagonists, or whatever else. I thought this movie, more than any movie I've ever seen, any sports movie I've ever seen, and these two actors pulled it off. And I think that's part of the best part of these performances, is that neither of them, like I was waiting at least in this movie for them to make like one of the heroic moments, right? Like one of them to make like the real selfless move to do something for the other. And we'll talk about it, whether that happened or not. But what this movie showed to me was two athletes at the peak of their powers who were the most confident in themselves and had egos, and were, even if they were going to be good teammates or bad teammates, whatever, they cared about themselves above anything else. And that's what it takes to be a great competitive athlete, a professional athlete. Like all these people have an ego to get to where they are, to be great at what they are. To be the best at something like that, you have to believe you're the best. And I thought that these two actors in this role both portrayed athletes who believed that they were the best at they were, even with the different insecurities and everything that they had to portray throughout. That was still the core of it from literally the beginning all the way to the very end of this movie. They did a good job with that. So I was impressed by that with the performances.
Paige, how'd you feel? Did Damson hold his own, or did he maybe even step it up against Pitt?
I'm gonna speak freely here. So if you leave the theater and you watch the film in its entirety and you think that Brad Pitt was the best performer out of the entire cast, I think maybe watch it again, because Damson Idris and Javier Bardem, for me personally, were like the heart and soul of the film. Damson Idris brought this like attitude, this like suave energy, and everything you could just read on his face. Like even when he wasn't speaking, he was acting and reacting to what was going on. And I didn't fully get that with Brad Pitt. I mean, I don't know if the filler rumors are true, but I do feel like I've seen almost all of his filmography, and it just felt like in this performance, don't get me wrong, like it was very magnificent and he's very talented. He's Brad Pitt. But I felt like we were missing a little bit of the wit and charm that he usually has, because I just didn't feel it in his face, in the physicality. Like some of the lines, he had all these great one-liners and this motivation, but it just felt like a little flat compared to what I've seen of him in like the Ocean's 11 and all these other movies and like Fight Club and things like that. He still like blew it out of the water, but if you want to compare performances, like Javier Bardem was the movie in my opinion, and Damson Idris just offered this whole element. And I mean, he just reminded me so much of like Lewis Hamilton, and I love Lewis Hamilton, so I was a big fan of them too.
A lot of people are saying the love story should have been between Javier Bardem and Brad Pitt. That's all I'm saying. There's a lot of. I
don't think it needed to even be there at all.
All I'm saying is that there's a lot of chatter that Javier and Brad were the lovebirds in this fight. So Mo, obviously, again, it's interesting. Where did these performances land for you?
With the Pages part about Brad Pitt, I agree. I mean, I didn't go away from that movie thinking, oh wow, Brad's putting on like a like an Oscar-worthy leading role. But I think it's the thing, he just plays off his natural charisma that he has and all of that, and that's why he didn't really put a lot into it. And I think when he's in the car, when he's driving, and then they're like, comments between him and like the crew or whatever you want to call it, like Kerry Condon's character and them all sitting at the table. I think that stuff's really good. It's everything out of the car where it's like, he didn't give a shit about this. They styled him. He looks fucking sick, but he doesn't care about this. He just wants to be in this car and like putting in his whatever work he wants to. And with Damson Idris, I thought he was good. I hadn't seen him in anything. I know he was in Snowfall, and that's his big role, the TV show. But I haven't really seen him in anything. I thought he was good, and I'm intrigued to see more out of him in the future. And then I think everyone was a great like supporting cast. But I think wasn't done yet. I said
God, you haven't lived. It's like you haven't like tried Italian food, like essentially. Like there's a whole culture. I mean, I mean Skyfall. Oh my gosh, like even and those are like his like popcorn movies.
I don't know what you're coming after me for.
I don't know.
I said I didn't know Damson Idris.
Oh, I'm sorry. I cut out for me. It cut out for me. I'm sorry.
No.
I know.
No, I think everyone's supporting was good. Bardem, Tobias Menzies, who kind of plays like the board member we see, Kerry Condon. I thought they were all great. And even like, you don't get a lot from the F1 racers in this movie. They aren't asked to act, actually. Yeah. But just like their knowing looks that they give and stuff. Like that last race with Lewis Hamilton, I think that's like all you needed out of them. And that was cool.
Absolutely.
Guys, how hard do you think Brad learned how to throw the cards, or did he always know how to do that? Do you think that's something he just does on his own all the time? There, he's just like, let me cook with this. This is gonna be my thing. Sonny just started throwing cards one day on set because I was like, why?
Probably
like this. It looked fun. It made me want to like go put a bucket in the corner.
He wasn't also like doing great at it. Like it was like they were all over the place. So it's not like he like practiced his skill, But
he wasn't very
so
good
we
at
will
it,
get into, I would say we'll get into spoilers because obviously we're talking about performances. We're talking about the movie itself. Obviously we got Brad Pitt as Sonny Hayes. We got Damson Idris as Joshua Beers. By the way, if Brad Pitt's addicted to fast moving vehicles and being in those movies, I think that's a separate discussion that we have to have at another time after Bullet Train and this. I think he's on a clear trajectory. With that said, I'll mention for the third time now. I said I get to like 20 plus. Joseph Kosinski, you have an ensemble cast. You got the old bull kind of coming in to help the team. Very similar to Top Gun Maverick. Loud engines. The overall movie, I mean, I thought it was pretty well put together. I think if you're going to nitpick anything, and I know that Paige is ready to in the bottom corner there, and I can't wait. But maybe the second act like a little long. That's my biggest thing is I think you could shave 15 to 20 minutes off this movie and you can get out. And I think it's a better movie at 210. But overall, I mean, this is a tale like where they kind of went like in modern Hollywood, they kind of like vary all over and try and like diversify like messages. And whether that's right or wrong, is your own opinion. But it felt like this movie served exactly who was coming into theaters to see it. People excited about seeing, an F1 story, and these guys delivered those performances, like you said. Micah, what do you think, honestly, of the storylines, the progression, the plot, and everything in between?
You made a great point that they could have made this world as way bigger than it was, and for everything that it was a really self-contained story to kind of just this team and everything else. But yeah, I really liked this movie. I really had a really good time with it. I do think that if you're you're going in, exactly what you're going to get out of this movie. If you're expecting if you think you'll enjoy it, you probably will. And like we said, the theater experience is definitely the preferred experience of this. But I thought I agree with you guys. It probably could have shaved off 10, 15 minutes. But with Apple putting out a movie like this and getting the actors they did, they probably paid some extra money and were like, hey, you get extra 3 minutes of screen time to get you to do this movie, and those start to add up once you start putting a film together. And it still moved fast for me, no pun intended. Like honestly, for me, it felt like a long movie, but it wasn't like I felt at any point it was dragging per se or anything. But there was some dialogue and just some stuff that didn't need to be in there. But overall, if you're there to see the interactions between the crew and then the race and the tension that creates, that to see during that, I think, and I'm interested to hear what Paige says about this because I've never watched an F1 race in my life. I probably will now after this movie, which is probably the best recommendation I can give for it. For me, it portrayed that tension of being in a team atmosphere like that, and it was at least exciting manner. It was entertaining, so I loved it. I had a great time with it. How we doing, Paige? What do we think?
Okay, so I agree. Like, I really like this movie from a consumer standpoint of like people who only go to the movies once or twice a year. You're definitely gonna love this. It's a very good, well thought out movie. I like that they focused in on like one team and two drivers instead of broadening the story, because I think that's where it could have gotten a little messy. However, I will say that the structure, like if you watch Top Gun Maverick, it's to the letter the same exact story structure. Like you were saying, the older guy comes in and he's very wise and he's trying to contradict a little bit of Desmond Idris's like cocky attitude and be like, well, I know what you know, I was in your place at one point. But there were like certain elements as we got into the second act and like the end of the film where they keep failing and failing and failing. Did we say spoiler warning?
Oh yeah, we said spoiler.
Okay,
oh yeah, we got it.
They keep failing and failing and failing, and then at the end they have this triumphant win, which is amazing. Love that feel good Rudy moment in a movie. In like the aspect of F1, it was a little bit unrealistic, but I'm willing to suspend my belief. If we want to shave 15 minutes off the film, I'll tell you exactly where, and it's the love story between.
This seems to be the consensus for sure.
Yeah, it just like it felt like. I know they were starting it from the second he walked in and she put her hair behind her ear. She was like, oh my God, who's this handsome fella? As anyone would. Brad Pitt walking up, like, with
seriously, I would be.
But it just felt like cliche. It didn't feel authentic to the story. And having a female, like, even on the team, having a woman who's the head of tech for the racing team is so important because F1 does not have a lot of opportunities for women in the sport, especially when it comes to engineering. So diminishing that to like the romance with Brad Pitt just felt a little cheap in my opinion because she had such a powerful role. And then it was like they're on the balcony like talking about why he loves racing. And I was like, this literally feels like the scene out of Top Gun. Like it felt exactly the same. But overall, like other than my few qualms, I really liked it. The love story, like
I didn't even realize you just copied and pasted the Jennifer Connelly storyline.
More realistic.
That's outstanding. Well, I mean, he really had a formula, and he's like, you know what, this worked, and I'm just gonna try it again.
He might have even had like the same outline, and just instead of like on the tarmac, he's like on the racetrack. Because some of the things I was like, oh my God, this is literally Top Gun Maverick to a T. And you know what? If it's not broke, don't fix it. True. You can fix a few things here and there. Yeah, them a little bit.
I mean, yeah, I wasn't going into this movie thinking it was gonna be like the best written thing in the world. Anyways, I was like, this is just gonna be a fun movie to go see. I mean, it's super predictable, like as all sports movies are super predictable though, and that that's a thing. So it's like obviously it's not based on real people, so they're gonna have their trials and tribulations. We don't know where it's gonna end. I mean, certainly, if we're going full spoilers, like I didn't really think he was, I didn't think they were gonna win a race at the end of the season at all. That the fact that they actually did, I mean, it's impressive, and like because the modifications that they made, where they were for like the cars were for combat or whatever they kept on talking about. Paige, how do you feel about Carrie Condon's character though, being from Lockheed Martin and being like essentially like an arms dealer before she got scouted to be on this F1 team? Do you think that's a good character backstory that she had?
Okay, maybe I like zoned out at that part. What? She was an arms dealer?
Well, not like arms dealer, but they're like said, oh, where'd you work before? She's like, oh, I worked at Lockheed Martin, like designing like jets and missiles and shit.
Yeah, it was like jet engines. It was like jet engines or something. And Javier was like, you're my girl. Like that's what I need, the jet engine car.
In terms of like having the car for combat, because cars that usually fall towards like the middle or the end of the grid where like they're not getting up to P10 or like above that, they usually do like sometimes design their car to have a little bit of contact in combat, so they have that upper hand because they're obviously not winning by speed and strategy. But that's a strange line to go into that.
No, that's
the fastest racing cars in the world.
Apex does not mess around. They're
you
want to race with us? Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah. But no, I mean, I wasn't going for any like amazing story. It was fun, and even if it has like beats that you kind of like we're gonna pick up on throughout, I still think it works, and it's an effective movie because like at the end of the day, that final race, and I remember talking to Jake on the phone about it. I didn't realize until he crossed the finish line. I was holding my breath the whole time. And if you can build to a moment like that in a movie, then it's successful. It doesn't really matter like along the way, like if the story was amazing or not. If you can build that suspense, then that's all that matters.
Yeah, agreed. And speaking of which, the best inspiration for great ends like that is reality. Did you guys? Now, I'm not as familiar with F1 as some people are. I definitely should be a little bit more familiar with it with my sports acumen. But did you know that Lewis Hamilton, obviously in the movie as well, that this was basically how he lost in Abu Dhabi in 2021? I'm reading some notes about the flex. So he basically retconned this, like, back into the movie. And I'm reading all these comments from fans. I was thinking the same when the red flag came out. I leaned over to my girlfriend and told her this really happened in 2021. And I told my girlfriend this was not a Hollywood ending. That was actually what really happened. They basically did us. So that's pretty incredible. And also, so I know they filmed this at real F1 events. The Hemsworth brothers in there for 1 second. Is this technically in the Marvel universe?
Well, I was wondering, is it in the F1 universe? Because we got some. What was the movie called with Chris Hemsworth? Why am I blanking?
Rush.
Rush.
Yes.
Rush, which is a very good F1 movie from in the 70s, based on a true story. Yeah.
I like that. So it kind of comes down to this for me. I know we've gotten into spoilers, but obviously, the Apex is able to kind of climb the ranks. They end with being the best in the world. You got Bardem and co on the platform, and you got Brad Pitt riding off into the sunset pro bono now. He's pro bono grinding it out. So with that said, I think the question comes down to the casual viewer, because if this movie, it's got a budget in the 200, 300 mil, is the casual viewer. The reviews are out. They're good. There's definitely a lot of positive buzz around this movie. Is it going to be enough to power the casual viewer? Ultimately, the viewer who maybe only goes to 10 movies a year, maybe 8 to 10. You know what I mean? Is it going to be enough for them? That's my question to this panel as we wind down our F1 talk. Is F1 going to power through these summer blockbusters that are coming right around the corner?
I hate to say it depends, but what if it has a tough comp tomorrow, right? It has.
Agreed. But once Jurassic World starts to hit the airwaves on whether it's really good or not, that could be big for F1 second weekend.
Exactly. If it comes out tomorrow that Jurassic World, we're not mixed reviews, whatever, even it could be just go see F1 could be the vibe. If you haven't seen F1, see that first. That could be good energy for it. But it did have a pretty strong first weekend. I feel it was around 150 million or something, right?
Yep, I'm seeing
146.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. So it's starting off some good momentum. I think it'll have a good holiday weekend this weekend. I would say people go. I think it's good. Yeah, I would say go. And I think it does pretty well this weekend. I think it holds some momentum at least the second weekend before July really starts getting crowded up.
Paige, what do you think? I know you're the diehard. You're our 200, 300 movie girl a year. What do you think? Is the casual viewer going to be able to muscle out F1?
I'm trying to think of it from the perspective of my friends when they go to the movie. And I feel with Jurassic World, we were saying, it is tough. However, you have the director from Top Gun Maverick, which was a huge success. So I feel people are just kind of looking for that kind of movie where they can go into something and know what to expect. Like you were saying with ADHD, I think people by the day have less and less attention span for movies. So that should be interesting with that. Jurassic World, I mean, you have Superman coming out soon, Fantastic Four. So there's all these movies coming out. So it's really up to the consumer, as in out of all these movies, which one do I care to see first before it comes to my television screen? And with Jurassic World as well, I imagine that the sound design is also going to be you have to experience that in a theater. So though I want everyone to go see the F1 movie so I can talk to more people about F1 beyond my love for Lando Norris and Lewis Hamilton, I mean, I feel it's going to be pretty tight with Jurassic World coming out so soon, which is why I'm confused why they released the F1 movie. I know they wanted a summer blockbuster, but I feel it would have made more sense if they released it around the same time as one of the huge Grand Prix, maybe Monaco or Las Vegas or Miami for the American viewer. Because the film was very Americanized. But, I mean, we can never really tell what people are going to like in theaters and what they're not going to like. So, I don't know.
Yeah, it is a really tough release schedule for it. Even this is the thing, Jurassic Park, the early reviews on it are very mixed already, but it doesn't matter like the last movie was also
True.
mixed, and all three of those Jurassic World movies really were mixed reviews, and they all made $1 billion.
Yeah.
So people just want to see dinosaurs and people eating people and people fighting dinosaurs. So I think no matter what this weekend, it's gonna take a hit. It all depends on like how many people are willing. I mean, they're getting bumped off IMAX screens this week, so that's gonna hurt the box office right there. It's all just like people are willing to go see multiple movies in a weekend, which obviously like most of us I think would be like, yeah, well of course we'll go do that. But are you gonna get that casual person to do that? I don't know. I think they probably thought this movie was gonna do better internationally too, because F1 is so much bigger in Europe. But I mean, it's sitting right now. I'm looking. It only says 89 million. It's not great. So I don't know. I think like I want them to make at least like the money back on this, but that's quite a ways to go. Like Maniac, you mentioned, there's the Apple and Joseph Kosinski and Brad Pitt. They're like, oh, it's $200 million budget, but all these other reports are like, no, it's like $300 million.
Yeah.
So they gotta get to like between. They gotta get between 600 and 700 million.
That's a big difference.
Yeah.
So just because it is 150%, so everything is 150% different. And yeah, like when there's the whispers out there that it could be 300, well, it could easily be 346. You know,
right.
at this
right.
point.
But that's the thing. Apple doesn't give a shit about this though.
Yeah,
because Apple's
I was gonna say,
we're making all this money with everything else.
When
we
I
don't
looked
care
at
about how
who's
much
distributing it, I'm like, okay, they can afford to maybe burn a little money on this one.
Well, it's the same thing.
This is the reputation that your studio puts out good movies for sure.
Yeah, it's the same thing. A couple years ago, they gave $200 million to Martin Scorsese for Killers of the Flower Moon. That movie was never going to make $200 million back, but they're like, it's going to be this prestige movie. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Same thing with this, and I'll jump ahead for a second. If we were to talk about it, it's far off, but F1 in the same way that like Top Gun Maverick did for like below the line Oscar stuff, I think it's going to be at least get tons of nominations.
Yeah,
like cinematography, editing, sound design. All that stuff, I think it's going to at least get the nominations for because it's so well made.
I can't believe the feeling they were able to replicate. I don't know about replicate, but make you feel of seeing like an F1 racetrack through that lens, especially at the end, but throughout the whole race. I was like, this is amazing on the big screen. And like behind me, just hearing like the engines the whole time, like hearing different things. It was one of the most immersive movies I think I've ever watched, honestly, with the sound, the way they did it.
The exclusive trailers, they really did a good job of like getting you excited for this movie with that aspect for sure. Yeah, and obviously again, like we said, with Kosinski, they had a guy who knew the engines, they knew how to rev them for sure, just like our leading lady knew how to rev the rockets. But with that said, F1 is in the rearview mirror. It's time to get Jurassic. I gotta have a confession right now. I'm sorry. I did not see Jurassic World Dominion or whatever in theaters. I passed on that.
You didn't need to.
Fallen Kingdom rubbed me so the wrong way with that ending and everything that we were basically right at the same point we had started the movie with no essential growth for anything, that I was like, you know what? I'm going to catch this one on like Amazon Prime or whenever it comes out. And I was glad I did when I ultimately did it, because like it didn't seem like there was anything like I did think the scene like when she's in the water or whatever and the dinosaurs trying to hunt her was pretty cool. But like the surviving the plane crash and like all this shit, like just like keep it. But with that said, we've got essentially like a reboot, right? Because this is in universe, but it's a couple years later.
It's like a standalone sequel in the Jurassic Park world universe.
Yes.
That's what I understand about it.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And this is almost, I hate, this is my only real thing that I can attack this movie with before we get into it, is that this plot really does feel like it was written by somebody who had like 6 minutes to write like a Jurassic. Well, there was another island and they have scarier dinosaurs that they like just left behind because like, okay, like I'm going to buy it. I'm going to buy into this, but it just seems like, and this played into it too. Part of the reason I hated Fallen Kingdom was that like, oh, there was this guy working with Hammond the whole time that like we never even knew about, like so stupid, like just very stupid. And again, you're devaluing the lore when you kind of do that. So hopefully they don't devalue the lore. Seems like early returns are that the performances are good. The dinosaurs are to be expected from what I'm seeing. Is that what you guys are kind of reading and seeing too?
Yeah,
I am seeing some excitement about the dinosaurs, which is not surprising, but I mean,
well, I'll tell you what I have excitement for, and this is what I spoiled for you in the pre-show that I've been saving this whole time This is the first time I will be going to a movie in 3D 4DX.
Oh,
have you guys been to a movie in 3D 4DX?
No.
I didn't even know what I was clicking. I just knew that it was below 3D, so I'm like, oh, I want to like see what this is about. Apparently, like moving seats and like environment effects in the theaters.
Yes.
Yeah,
like,
you might
what
get
is going?
Yeah.
If
Yeah,
I
might
better be in like a
water,
swamp.
yeah.
If
you
they're in
might
a
get
swamp,
sprayed
I better
with
be in a
stuff.
swamp.
I remember this for Spy Kids. They did 4DX and like you could smell things.
Wow.
I've never gone and seen it. Like, I mean, it just seems like a few extra dollars I don't need to spend.
I agree. I didn't need to, but now we did. So,
but at least we'll get a first-hand experience of 4DX and see if it's worth it. Because maybe you should go see the F1 movie in 4DX. Do they even have that?
Oh.
Moving like an F1 car.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
That would be too much. Secure my neck.
Jurassic World might be crazy in 4DX, honestly.
Yeah, what if you're like,
that could be nuts. Like the dinosaurs.
Dude, I'm telling you, I want to be in a swamp. I want to like just feel the water like rush by me, or like I want the theater to shake when the
I mean, it'll definitely do that.
But don't forget, there will inevitably be an end scene where a T-Rex sneaks up on somebody. Despite the whole movie, they basically preface that it like shakes the ground when it moves anywhere close to you. Alrighty, but we'll get into it. That's the magic of movies. Huge shout out to our panel, Mo, Paige, and Jake. Anyone else have anything before we sign off?
No.
All right,
go to the theaters.
F1's in the river. I think 2025 could be the year where theaters came back. Truthfully, with the way things are pacing, F1 needs a strong second week. What do you got, Paige? No.
Oh,
if movie theaters want to make a comeback, I have one suggestion, and it's pretty important. Please, for the love of God, bring back a physical movie stub. Okay?
Yes.
In this jar right here, I have every movie.
We don't want popcorn buckets.
Every movie ticket from the last year and a half, 2 years. And these are the ones at the AMC. Now they're like a little receipt. The one I got at Flix today was literally just a receipt that said like my total and F1 movie. Bring back movie tickets and people will go. They want little trinkets. I want trinkets. Bring them back.
That's an argument people have for sporting events too, is that they want like commemorative tickets.
Sports, bring it back. You can afford it, I promise.
Yeah, it's not the same.
They can. We'll see if they do the right thing and bring it back. Bring them back for Paige. With that said, we are turning the page. F1 into the rear view. We'll see what Jurassic World Rebirth has to bring us coming out in theaters tomorrow. We're booked to see it. We'll have that soon. We'll keep you posted where that's coming. But huge shout out for Mo, Paige of Dry Gin Martini, and Jake, Mike, of course, for myself, Maniac. Huge shout out to our sponsor, Cellino Plumbing. I assume the characters at Jurassic World Rebirth will be running into a problem, but if you run into a problem at your house, remember that Cellino has every service you can need and your happiness guaranteed. Call 716-68-FLUSH. With that said, it's not about last week's trailer. It's not about next week's review. It was about this week's movie, and have a good night now.